In this video, I'm going to show you how you can win all your wide receiver player props in the NFL. Now make sure you stay to the end because I'm going to give you the exact website that you need to do the strategy that I'm going to teach you in this video. Now this is the strategy that I use that hits at 82% on wide receiver player props. I'm going to go step by step and show you just how you can do the same. So the first thing what we're going to focus on is obviously the wide receiver position. Okay? And we're going to look at the under in this situation. What are we looking at the under on? Receiving yards. Number two, what we're looking for is the top 5 defenses versus wide receiver. Okay, now there's a difference here between passing yards allowed and against defenses against wide receivers. Okay, there's a difference here because people think that they can go and just research, well, the worst passing teams in the league, and that's going to pretty much give you the results for who is the worst against receivers. That's not the case because you still have tight ends and you still have running backs that can catch the ball, and those can rack up yards as well. So not necessarily the team that gives up the most amount of yardage through the air is the worst against wide receivers. So you have to be able to find exactly the top 5 defenses that are worst versus the wide receiver position. Now this also has to correlate with the top 5 teams that give up the least amount of yards per catch. All right, top 5 versus yards per catch. What does that mean? That means every time that ball is thrown, you want a top 5 defense that doesn't give up the long ball to receivers, because that's what's going to kill your under, is any plays that are long and down the field that rack up 50 yards in one play or whatnot. So you want to find the teams that fall in the category top 5 defenses versus wide receivers and the top 5 versus yards per catch. Now, number 3, we got to go and find the value, okay? Because just because, obviously, somebody has a good matchup or whatnot, and whatever the line is, doesn't mean necessarily that line has value. So we have to go and find the value within that line. So now let's go look at a couple examples. Now, for an example, let's go ahead and say CD Lamb. All right, we're going to use CD Lamb for an example. Let's say his over-under line, minus 110 line, is, let's go ahead and put it at 89.5. All right, let's say his over-under line is 89.5. He's got the good matchup. He's going against a team that's top 5 versus wide receivers, and they don't give up a lot of yards per catch. So let's go ahead and see exactly in detail what that correlates to with your percentage. All right, so you got minus 110 line at 89.5. Let's say that you go and look over the course of the last season. He ends up hitting that about 5 out of 10 times. Okay, that gives you a 50% mark. So what does that mean at minus 110? Our implied probability there, okay, implied is 52.4%, we're going to say, okay? Meaning that you got to hit this over long term just to break even. Now, if our true percentage here, which is right here, is 50%, now we're negative 2.4% over long term, meaning that continuously playing this play, even though he has a great matchup, is going to lose you money. So that is where a lot of people lose money long term with player props, is they're betting negative edge. So when you're betting negative edge long term, then you're going to lose money regardless, because you're betting a negative edge the whole entire time. That is what you don't want. So let's go to the next level here, and let's say, for example, we find an alternate line for 99.5. Okay, let's say that's minus 150. Now at this line, his implied probability would be 60%. Okay, because of this number right here. Now let's say that his true percentage here, we go and we find out, is 7 out of 10, which is 70%. Now what do we have? We have a differential here, right? If he was to go under 99.5, we have a differential here of plus 10%. That is what you want to see, okay? That's what you want to see here. The overall goal of being able to find the matchups first, obviously, you find those matchups. You find the correct matchups that match up, that are in your favor, but then you got to exploit the number that's within, okay? So, like I said here, this is a 10% edge. This is a big difference here. Reason why is because a lot of people will go and just play this number here. Reason why is because, first off, when you log into the sports book, that's going to be the first number they give. And then also, most people think, well, I put down a certain amount, I'm almost getting even money here at minus 110, so I'm going to go ahead and bet that. But then they don't realize they're playing an edge that's negative, and doing this long term, yeah, maybe they could do it one-off, but doing it long term and week after week, they're going to continuously slope down. Now, having an edge here, like I said, we got a 60% implied probability versus a 70% true probability. That right there, with that 10% edge, is going to give you steady growth over the long term of doing that continuously. Now, if you want to fast forward through all this and you want me to show you exactly the plays week in and week out in the NFL that fit this criteria, make sure you guys click the link in the description. Now, you could take this even further and keep going down the line here. Now, the odds are going to get bigger, obviously, because let's say we go to 109.5 now, but obviously you still want that sweet spot of having the best edge. So let's say, for example, here at minus 210, your implied probability here is 67%. Now, let's say your true probability at this point is still 7 out of 10, so 70%, okay? What is this showing us now? This is showing us a 3% edge. So now, like most people think that if you're going up in odds, you're getting a better shot at winning. Not necessarily always the fact, okay? This is an example right here that I want to use because this happens sometimes. So you went up in odds, now your implied probability went up, but your true probability didn't. So you still have a 10% edge at this number compared to paying more now. So there's no reason actually to take this number now because you have a better edge here in the middle number rather than taking this number. Yes, you have a better implied probability, but your true probability stayed the same. So it doesn't matter. It's still the same exact true probability, but you're getting a better number. So you're able to actually get a better edge here. So sometimes you can play the middle here and you don't necessarily have to keep going up in odds to get a better shot. Because sometimes, let's say, for example, in this CeeDee Lamb case, let's say that, most of the games he still was able to stay under both of these numbers. That's why he was 7 out of 10. That's why he's 7 out of 10 is because he was able to stay under both of those numbers. So it doesn't matter if you pick the higher number or not. He still has the same exact true probability. So you still can get better odds sometimes with a better edge rather than paying for more juice. Now it all just comes down to math, probabilities, and numbers. That's really all it is. To be successful in sports betting, as long as you can master your numbers and your probabilities and know the exact shot that you have at a certain bet that you're putting in, then you're going to be way better than everybody else. It's just that easy. Now, another thing people ask is, where do you find these bets at? Where can you find this? So there is an area on FanDuel, okay, that you could find. It's called Your Way Bets. All right, so what you could do is it's only available on mobile too, because make sure I tell everybody that. If you go look on desktop, it doesn't show it to you on there, but on mobile it does. And what you could do is you could literally set any line that you want on any player prop for an over or an under. So for a receiver, you can go and put their over-under to whatever it is that you want that's going to give you the best edge. Gives you the best edge for, like I said, implied probability versus true probability. Okay? You want the best edge, and that's the play that you're going to go ahead and play. Whatever gives you the best edge. Now, this isn't the website that I was saying that I was going to give you. I got to give you the website to find the wide receiver versus team defenses. Okay? That's what I'm about to give you guys right now. Now, that website is called StatMuse, and it's also an app as well, okay? It's kind of like an AI app. You can ask it questions or whatnot, but this is the prompt that you're going to want to put in there to be able to get the information for wide receivers versus team defenses. Now you want to go ahead and put receiving yards. Now you want to spell out receiver, okay? Receiving yards by wide receivers. Spell that out, okay? You spell out wide receivers. Receiving yards by wide receivers versus team defense, and then use the year that you're looking at. So if it's early on in the year, then you use the year prior. If it's current year, then you use the current year. But this is the prompt that you're going to use to be able to see exactly what teams give up the most yardage to wide receivers and the least amount to wide receivers.